am so glad to be here today with my dear, wonderful friends, Dash and Alexander, who you'll see them. They're really the stars of the show today, but I'm going to maybe keep us on time. That's my goal today to do in this presentation. So, but all three of us are here today to represent the Connecticut Invention Convention, which is a nonprofit STEM organization based out of Connecticut currently right now. We started back in 1983, so we've been around for a little while. And we work with students K through 12th grade to learn about invention and problem solving. But one of the things that we're most excited about, and I'm most excited about, and why we're here today, is to talk about some new programs that we're launching for inventors specifically who learn at home or are homeschooled. And what we're really excited also in this next year to be able to do is open this up for any student in the globe, any young person around the globe who learns at home, for them to be able to participate in our educational programs and the platform we have. To really support and make sure that the invention education process that we promote and work through is fully, transparently, wonderfully open to every inventor, specifically those who don't, or those who learn at home, to join our program, to come in, to be part of our community and grow. And so I have Dash and Alexander here with us today, who are going to be able to speak a little bit more to their experience of doing that, inventing at home, and learning and why invention is important. So let's me not talk too long, because I can talk a lot. Everybody knows that. I am the director of digital learning, though, at Connecticut Invention Convention. And it has been a joy and a privilege for me to be a part of that team for the last 4 years. And Connecticut Invention Convention has a great tie to the GIFT program. And we are so thankful for all the ways that we get to encourage the work of all of the inventors who participate in GIFT, and are so, so glad to be here today. So I'm going to let my friend Dash introduce himself just a little bit here. He's on. Hi, Dash.
Hi.
Yay.
So my name is Dash. I'm a sixth grader, and I've been homeschooling for about 5 years. Like, this is my 5th year. And I've been inventing for about 2 years. And I've always wanted to be an inventor. And some of my hobbies are playing soccer, skiing, and playing football. I also like baking. And in 2025, I'll be representing Connecticut at the U.S. Nationals with my invention, the Tickle Glove.
Amazing.
Awesome. And Alexander?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexander. I am a college student, and I've gotten to work with the Invention Convention over the past 6 months, maybe. And it has been just fantastic. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the invention education process and why it's important. But before anything else, we have another slide which is about what can students learn through CIC's at-home learning programs. That's what we want to focus on today. The program we have, Bree, do you want to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yes.
Go ahead. You go ahead though, and then I'll follow up behind you.
Well, I'm just here to emphasize this part and then go on to my own. So you take it away.
Awesome. That's great. I love, first off, how wonderfully collaborative our team always is, and how happy we are to talk about the awesome, specifically innovative and entrepreneurial skills that we want to see. Genuinely, I can't stress this enough. Literally every person has the opportunity to be able to put in their toolbox. One of the things we really stress at our at-home learning program is the fact that invention is not always what we think, right? Innovation is part of invention. And being able to bake. I love that Dash highlights the fact that he likes to bake, right? He also likes to play sports. He also likes to invent. And I would submit to the global jury today that sports, baking, all of that is inventing every time you do that. And so we really want to make sure that any young person who has the goal of wanting to learn how to innovate, wants to be creative, wants to grow in their public speaking, we want to encourage you to come alongside us and grow in our inventive community that we're growing here at the CIC. So the other wonderful thing is there's lots of programs out there, but we are really looking to include students or young people who want to invent at home. So mom and dads too, if you're listening and you want to encourage your young kids to invent at home, or you want to help them, we want to make inventing a family possibility, not just an isolated event that a young person experiences. So Alex, why do you think invention education is important?
Right. Well, this is an important question to consider. You know, in order to answer it, though, we should think about what learning is. One common definition of learning is that it's the acquisition of knowledge or skills through effort. And it can be really easy to think of learning as taking place in schools or formal settings where you have a teacher who is the source of knowledge. But it's really important to recognize that learning doesn't only come from one place or in specific places. Instead, we want people to learn through engaging with the world, which is, putting effort in to discover how rich with detail it is. Now, invention education does just that. And Bree, you can go to the next slide. Invention education does just that. Our organization, which is called the Invention Convention, teaches students the process of identifying a problem. Next slide, Bree. Which is, identifying a problem, coming up with a solution, poking holes in your own solution, and then plugging those holes. And when you do this enough, you come up with a really solid way to solve your problem. That's an invention. And I like to think of invention education and teaching this process as developing a few really essential skills for good living and learning. Now, number one, the invention process teaches us or compels us to engage with the world. Next slide. And to discover how rich with detail it is, as I mentioned. It also grows our ability for reflection and for critique. Finally, it cultivates our creative abilities. All of these things are what make for a good life. And so invention education has, so many more things that are just fantastic. And I can't get into all of them, but overall, it's important for learning because invention education teaches us to become better learners. Now, Bree, you can continue again. Yes. Now, in terms of my own experience with invention education, I didn't come to it right away. I didn't know that there was a formalized process for this exactly, but the formal aspect isn't what we want to emphasize too much anyway. When I was growing up, I was a scout and I had a Swiss Army knife that I loved and I took everywhere for almost a decade. But then I couldn't take it on the plane with me one year. I ended up having to give it up. And that was really upsetting because I'd had it for so long. I'd used it almost every day. And, I thought like, shouldn't there be some better way? And so I came up with a solution. I worked with some people to come up with a solution, which we ended up calling Flip It. We have a mail-back system in airports that lets air passengers send their item back to themselves using mobile technology. And if you want, you can go to flipit.com and check that out, but it's not the focus. So I was very lucky because I ended up learning about invention education and learning about how it teaches kids to do just what I wished I had learned to do earlier, which is to identify problems and come up with solutions. It was really hard to come up with flip it. And I think when young people get exposed to the skills of invention education, next slide, it's fantastic, and it helps people take ownership over their own, or take direction in their learning. And so I fell in love with its work, and I was super lucky. I got to help young people learn the invention education process. And in watching these young people learn and grow, I got to learn too, because when you teach, you're also learning. You can see how people are interacting with the concepts you're introducing, how they're, tackling problems in a way that you never thought of before. And teaching is a two-way process. Someone told me one time, when one teaches, two learn. And in fact, the whole process of learning in invention is collaborative, because you don't have just one person who's the source of knowledge and one person who's the recipient. The teacher and the student are actually two roles that are swapped all the time. And I thought it was, I was really, really excited to get to help with some of that. Now, we have Dash on today, who has been one young person coming up through the Invention Conventions process. And let's hear a little bit more about his experience. Dash, take it away.
So I think to learn at home, it was great to have guidance from Bree on how the invention process worked. And each week we would get together via Zoom and talk about our inventions and where we were in the process. And collaborating and sharing ideas with the other kids in the program was really great. And I could see how other kids were progressing their inventions, and they could give me ideas about my invention.
Dash, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you created and how you came to this solution?
Sure. So, my problem was that dog owners couldn't know if their dogs had ticks or not, and they didn't have a good way to get ticks off before they embedded. So my first idea was to wipe the dog with a permethrin-treated cloth of some kind, which would use permethrin's ability to neutralize and kill ticks. And however, as I developed and tested my idea, I thought a glove would work better and that I could have a special material that would impact the effectiveness. So I worked through many prototypes to find the one that would work best. And my final design effectively loosens the ticks with a brush on the palm and then grabs and kills the ticks with permethrin-treated microfiber fingers. And this keeps the ticks from getting on people while getting them off dogs before they can embed and transmit potentially fatal tick-borne illnesses.
And Dash, what does your dog think of your invention? I love this picture right here. How's your dog feel about it?
Well, yeah, it's another thing. It's like, it's not some sort of way that the dog doesn't, feels uncomfortable. Like, it just feels like they're being petted or, massaged. So the dog likes it.
Yeah, so your dog's actually pretty happy after a walk to get a good pat down and cleaned. And it keeps not only your dog safe, but also then your household safe too, because you don't have ticks possibly running around, right? That's awesome. Dash, can you talk to us about, because I love here that you have 3 different prototypes. So what were the ways that you were able to change, ideate on your prototype?
So my original prototype, the problem was that the finger brushes couldn't really get any leverage to do anything. So then I decided to remove the and the whole brush itself was also too stiff with the finger brushes rubbing against it. So I decided to swap to have microfibers on the palm and brushes on the fingers. But the problem with that was that the motion of brushing your dog was almost backwards, because the microfibers would come in, and because the ticks are deep in the dog's fur, they couldn't get anything. And then the brush would come in and loosen the ticks. So then you'd have to do 2 brushes to even get anything. So then I decided to swap the positions of the brush fingers and the microfiber palm, so that way the brush would go loosen the ticks and then the microfiber fingers could pull the ticks off.
That's great,
Awesome.
Dash. And I really love how you pointed out some of the things that were not working quite as you needed, and that you ended up coming up with new solutions to those problems. Now, I have another question for you, Dash, which is more directed at Invention Convention overall. Why do you think other kids should participate?
Well, one of the reasons is that you learn important life skills like how to use everyday things to solve everyday problems. And it's also really fun. It's great to meet people from all over the state online and then in person at the state convention. And it's even cooler to meet people from all over the world. Inventing itself is fun as well, because you're inventing something that could be a whole new thing around the world. Something that you thought of could help people around the world. The idea of having impact around the globe inspired me to invent.
Awesome. That's great, Dash. And I really, honestly, love that you said it's fun. It's really fun to be able to invent and meet new people and hear different things. Dash, have you had a chance at Invention Convention or in other programs that you've been able to participate in to hear some cool ideas from other kids around the world?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
What if
Is there
some-
any you want to share with us?
Yeah.
Well, one kid had in my group, as you see in the picture right there, the kid on the far right, he had a special thing that could filter and boil water at the same time. So it would almost instantly, it was like a tube and it would almost instantly clean the water, because you need to boil it to get the bacteria out and then you filter it to get all the like bugs or whatever that stuff is out. So it was very interesting because he could literally instantly just take any dirty water and instantly clean it.
Wow, that's awesome. It's really neat to hear about problems around that other people have and to be able to respect those problems and come up with solutions.
Do you think, Dash, that there has been any inventor who you were able to come up with a new idea with together? Did you talk with that inventor at all?
I talked with him about like his invention, like he told me what it was and stuff, but not particularly. I mean, we talked about like what soccer teams we like, but
Nice. This is a social aspect of it that's very important too.
yeah.
Bree, can I interrupt? I'm ready to explode. I'm sorry. You got me on. If you have
Come on.
if you have some important details to pass along, please do. But
Go ahead, Jake. Share with us. We're so happy to be here.
I just want to make one comment. This invention you created, it's very nice, but that's not the most important thing you've done. The most important thing you've done is you've learned that when you do something, it doesn't work the first time or the second or the third or the fourth. And you learned how you just have to keep plugging away and looking at it. And trust me, that's a skill that's going to carry you forward for the rest of your life, no matter what you do. You don't have to be an inventor to know how to be a problem solver.
Yeah.
So congratulations on
Absolutely.
that. I'm now going to shut up and let Kimmy and Nirbai ask a question.
Absolutely. Well done. Well done. Just like Jake have rightly said, it's not only about the invention, but the resilient spirit in you, and that will really take you far. That will really take you far, and I'm really impressed because my question, I was going to ask you that, were you the one that actually discovered this problem? Looking at the first one you worked on, the second one, and you just felt, what, I want to make it better. Were you the one that actually figured this out, or somebody pointed it out to you?
Dash, what do
Dash?
you think?
Well, my mom has told me that there have been ticks on our dogs before. Luckily, I don't think any of my dogs have gotten Lyme disease before. My dad has, though. But I'd say I was sort of the one who found the problem, but it was also my mom and brother and dad as well.
Amazing. Amazing. That's also impressive. That's another lesson that you have to learn, that in life you need mentors, to guide you, to coach you. And that is also what, CIC is also doing, is really, really impressive at what you're doing. And for me, I just sitting back there listening to Alessandra and Dash, I am so impressed, because it was almost looking as if you actually paid them to be helping you to do the marketing. The passion, the excitement, and it shows that they are really having value. You are really, really imparting them, and I'm really, really impressed. Keep up the good work. And my question to you is this: you actually mentioned that it's a non-profit, right? CIC
Correct.
non-profit.
Yep.
Yes.
So you mean you are actually doing this free?
Well, what a wonderful segue. That's amazing. We do have, let me get there. We have a couple programs that we're offering for inventors around the world throughout this year. We have one that's coming up in just a couple weeks in October, then a virtual club that we offer January and February. We also have an asynchronous program. So I have a little QR code. Do you see how high tech I am, that I made a code anybody can scan to see our registration page? And there are certain fees associated with that, but we never want money to be an issue for any inventor across the globe. So we just ask that people register for the program, and then we discuss, and then specifically for international inventors, we have a good chunk of scholarships that we'd like to give to any international inventor who would like to join our at-home learning program. So like I said, we just say register, and then we'll figure out the rest. But we really, especially at the CIC, do believe that invention should be accessible for every single person. And the thing that I love about Alexander and Dash's stories is that they come from really authentic problems that they personally connected to and they wanted to solve. And I think Dash is so great, especially because although his family recognized the problem, I know Dash's invention, he was the one who looked at the different prototypes and said, oh, I need to move this finger to this part of the palm. I need these fingers to be able to move. And in his testing of his prototype, really came up with a wonderful, wonderful solution. And Alexander, the same, right? Losing your childhood pocket knife, he's now making sure other people don't have to have that same experience. So, yeah. Thank you so much for having us today, though. We're so glad. Happy inventing, gift world. Congratulations to everybody today and their great work. Jake, did you want to say something?
Here's the story. We have a wonderful schedule, and it's all very well organized, but the next presenter is not here.
Oh.
We have a few more minutes.
Okay.
So I think with that, so I can just ask, for you doing this amazing work, can you just let the world know how can they contact you? How can they have access to you? So you can quickly do that.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Again, if you go back to this QR code, my email is on that registration link too. Please don't hesitate to email me. Bree at ctinventionconvention.org, BRI. So happy to receive emails and connect. And even once you email me, there's a little link on there. I'm happy to schedule 30-minute meetings with people and just see how we can grow our program and make invention more accessible for everyone.
Amazing. I'm definitely going to get in touch with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kimmy. Looking forward to it.
Well done.
Speak up. Bye.
Nabil, please go ahead.
So, this is an amazing invention, and I actually went and typed flipit.com into when you were presenting, and I was also seeing in the website as well. the Connecticut Invention Convention. So, this is one question that I had. So, how do you start a non-profit, and how is it like to start a non-profit? Um,
That is a great question, and I think probably Kimmy and Jake are more of an authority on how to start a nonprofit than I am, to be honest. I just have the humble honor of working at a nonprofit. I've never been brave enough to start my own. But Kimmy or Jake, if you guys have any insight to starting a nonprofit, that is probably a wealth of information for people.
Bree, can you stop sharing?
Absolutely.
So let me tell you how you start a nonprofit. You contact Nick Briere and you say, Nick, I need a nonprofit. And then he waves a magic wand and does it. Nick is the head of the Connecticut Invention Convention, and I have no idea how he does the things he does.
It's very true. Nick is a phenomenal leader and advocate for Invention Convention, for invention education specifically.
Nearby, I would just...
It's been on for, since 1983, you mentioned. That's a long time, and it's quite impressive. So if I can answer your question, for you to have a nonprofit, it comes with something you are passionate about. It has to be that, okay, you've already seen a problem and you want to provide solution to it. And you can't do that without it coming from something you are so passionate about. So for me, I looked at it. I grew up with my paternal grandma, and she was my best friend. Unfortunately, she died, in 2000, and I was like, okay, how can I bless and be a blessing to the senior citizens, considering the fact that majority of them, they are always prone to one diseases or the other, BP, blood sugar level, then boredom as well. I now said, you know what, there's need for me to work together with these amazing senior citizens. So what I usually do is to organize retreats for them, outreaches, sensitize them on healthy living, and give them free food, in my own capacity. And along the line too, the one for the children also came around. Okay, and it's just an ability for me to help them, to bring out their passion, whatever they're passionate about, to tailor it towards the entrepreneurship aspects. And that was how I got to know about gifts. So for me, like I mentioned in summary, it has to be something you are passionate about. Go for it, then discover the problem and find a solution to it. Then of course you have to do the registration as well, which is also dependent on what other part of the country that you may belong to. So in my country, it's called, so you have to register with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and that is it.
In that sense, starting a nonprofit is very much an invention, because
it is.
you need a problem and you need a solution that you want to promote. And so everyone who is involved with GIFT is working on a problem that they have identified and that they've come up with a solution for. And maybe they can even turn those into organizations like nonprofits.
Agree.
Okay.
And well done, Alessandra. You're such a good presenter. Keep it up.
It's very kind. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Overall, I would say, it helps to have something very good to present about. And in this case, the Invention Convention is something that I think all of us are passionate about. And we hope that many people end up joining and getting to participate in this, no matter where they are nearby. Do you have another question?
Yeah,
no, that'll be all from me.
One last question from my end. So with regards to Flip It, it is where it is where you put your items into a mail system wherein items which are not allowed on planes
Yes,
are carried across the
exactly.
nation.
Yes,
So
and I would say, and I'm very sorry for cutting you off, but I want to make sure things are okay in terms of time and schedule and things. If you know, there are things on the website if you want to look at that, but you know, overall, uh, um, you know, it's very important. The website is like the presentation of my invention in a way, or of the invention of Flip It, and you know, there are many other presenters who are potentially coming up. And Jake, how are things on timing?
Don't worry about time.
Okay.
I can be very rude. So you have plenty of time, and when it's time, I will let you know.
Okay. All right. Then I please continue Nikolai,
so
if you would like.
sure. So in your website, I think you're talking about there is a way you can pay for that, right? So so what is the charging? What is it charge? Why is there a charging? A bit that would be my question. Is it for the mailing? Is it for the flight that is sending it to the destination, or is it a combined cost that you're sharing among Flipit and other organizations?
I like the way you're thinking and that you're trying to figure out what the different components are and things. That's
Yes.
very good. The cost is to cover many different things. It is for the shipping, which is not always by plane. In fact, usually not.
Oh,
It's also to make sure that Flip It can grow as well. And this is going back to your question about nonprofits before. There are different kinds of organizations that have different ways of engaging with money or with pricing. With the Connecticut Invention Convention, we want people to come in and have access to invention education, no matter who they are, no matter where they are. And we want to make it as accessible as possible because our growth does not really depend on getting money for participants. We want people to participate, and that's the most important thing. And there are other kinds of organizations, and Flip It is one of them, that need money from different places, including the customers, in order to put the money towards growing the organization. And overall, these are all skills that people learn in order to, and tools that people learn in order to take on more problems. And there are many different ways of approaching them. But you know, or there are many different ways of approaching them, and there are different ways of growing these organizations to approach these problems differently. Does that help?
that does help.
Great. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Dash, you're the star of the show. So would you like to add something? Don't let these old people do all the talking.
I don't really have much to add.
Dash, so you started inventing this year. This is your second year. Now,
Yeah.
who's joining you in inventing this next year? Who did
Wait,
you
what?
inspire in your family? Who did you inspire in your family to start inventing this year?
My brother.
Oh,
Your brother.
can you
That's
tell us a little
awesome.
bit about that?
Yeah.
So, like, do you want me to tell you about my brother?
Well,
Yeah.
more about
What?
inspiring your brother. Well,
Yeah.
how did you inspire your brother? What did you do? What did you teach him or show him different things?
Well, he thought the Invention Convention was a cool thing. He also thought it sounded fun because of the reasons I said earlier. And it's about it.
Now, is he older or younger than you?
He's 13.
So he's older than you.
Wow.
So I think that phenomenally also expresses some of the power you held or hold, Dash, in inspiring someone who's even older than you to want to be able to identify a problem and come up with a solution. That speaks a lot, my friend, to what you've done in this last year, and going into your second year. The power you hold for good to do something really well, and encourage your brother to join you also. So your house will become an invention force to be reckoned with, huh?
Yeah.
Yep, that's great. That's awesome.
Dash, I must say you are a born leader. You know,
Yes.
you are really a born leader. And I'm really impressed. Keep up the good work.
I would like to pause for a second. We have two wonderful people who've just joined us. Amy, and I'd like her to introduce herself and then tell everyone what you do, which is wonderful. And then Ricardo, who has been a wonderful assistant for us, but also has a family relationship with a wonderful young woman who's inventing marvelous things all the time. So Amy and Ricardo, please, who are you?
Hi, everyone. I've been enjoying your conversation in the background. I'm Amy Ashcraft. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. Also, been an invention convention coordinator for my district for a lot of years. So I have a passion for all you inventors. I am a teacher. I teach gifted students in grades 2 through 6, and this is like my 32nd year teaching.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ricardo Haraguchi. I'm working here as a host, coordinator, and translator from Portuguese to English. And I am also the secretary of my daughter, Nicole Haraguchi, who basically has a foundation, which is the Innovation International Foundation, where she basically mentors students worldwide in STEM.
Amazing.
Thank you.
He is giving a presentation later.
Yes, she is going to be, the next one is going to be, I think, from Brazil, our team from Brazil, and then she's going to be giving the one at 6.
So you essentially work for your daughter. Is that correct?
That's right. I am her secretary.
That's so sweet.
Thank you.
Dash seems to have left us.
Yeah, he needed to go do some other things, so he's on his way.
Bree, I think I'm going to tell you what I think you should do. I think what you should do is take that segment. We're going to make a video out of this, and take that segment where he talks about all the things that went wrong and how he changed them and why he changed them, and get rid of all the adult stuff and just have this kid talking about the difficulties and the challenges he came up with. And it's easy to go, oh, it doesn't work, I quit. And he didn't do that. And I would just take that and show that to every single student.
One of the great things was I worked with Dash for 9 weeks this last winter, and we kind of had these conversations, and I would see him piece it through a little bit. And then one day he got on and he shared that with me, and I was like, oh, whoa, what was he able to do as far as identifying problems and really phenomenally going through and solving them, not just being like, oh, it doesn't work, I got to move on to something, but like moving the brush from the finger to the palm, switch, just changing the type of the sleeve, from going from a cloth to a glove. It was so inspiring, and I am just consistently proud of the work he's been able to do.
There's a famous quote from Thomas Edison, and he was asked, how are you able to invent and succeed all these things when all these other people have failed? And he said, they didn't fail, they quit.
Yep.
And Dash didn't quit.
Yes.
Yep. Well, and in my classroom, you can ask any inventor I work with, we say all the time, the expectation is not perfection, but perseverance. And so the expectation is never that you come up with something perfect, but that you continue to persevere through whatever you are whatever's put before you. And I think Dash embodies that really well.
And if you think it's perfect, it's only because you haven't looked at it enough.
I agree.
Isn't that true?
Agree.
Isn't that true? Totally. That's great.
Nearby, would you like to talk about something you've invented? Because this young man has a real history. Let me just tell you, he was in the very first gift with some of his inventions. And we asked the students, something about themselves. And the host at that time said, oh, I see on the sheet that you're 4 years old. And he got very indignant. He said, I'm 4.5. What did you invent when you were 4.5?
Sure. I actually invented what was once called the Scooty brush, which is now called the Scooty bubble blower. And what it happened to be was that the that project is actually still going on now, but it's going on a more like an impact-wise trend. But it started. But the purpose of that model changed over the 2 years that I developed that model. Initially, its purpose was to make cleaning for people who have disabilities easier, and the type of scooter its material had to be iterated such that it would be suitable with highly durable material, because it had several challenges. One was that our motors burnt out, leaving a big black rubber scar on our floor, which lasted for a year. And another challenge was that the brush was always dragging behind, which should have been cleaning. So it iterated so much that at a point the purpose of the invention changed, and it became a way to help. It became a therapy for artistic kids. It would blow bubbles. It will run with brushed motor so that it won't really make a noise to disturb the artistic kids, and that became one of the inventions that really involve the community impact part of it. And there was also another innovation which was called the robotic companion. It is going to a step further as well. And now it is in a different phase, but it was originally starting as a way that elderly people could see their surroundings better at night. And then it converted into an innovation which would then turn out to be a way in which it turned out to be as a way in which elderly people could hear what stop and watch your step when there's an obstacle hitting in front of the robot. And it was an embedded system, and now it's getting more compact so that it's designed pieces.
All of his videos, not all of his incredible inventions up on the website. Yes. Yeah, Kimmy, it's okay. You can go. I know you have a life. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Albert, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
My love to your daughter.
Oh, thank you very much.
We see you.
I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
All right.
See you
Bye for
soon.
now.
You do not have to stay either. I know you have things to do. And
It was such a pleasure to be here, though. Thank you. And yeah, what a wonderful community to spend an afternoon with. Thank you.